ASMR Magical Tools. Hello. Welcome back. So, today we are going to be talking about March 10th through the 17th. The 17th, of course, being St. Patrick's Day, for those of you who celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We're going to start off with our usual space clearing exercise. And then get into the zeromancy, the wax reading, and the ephemera. And then, of course, for the scrying today, I'm going to be using this chunk of smoky quartz crystal. This is the black magic incense. And instead of selenite, today I'm going to be using the tuning forks. I'll put this part at the beginning so that if you want to skip it or you think it's too loud, you won't have to worry about volume fluctuation elsewhere in the video. And now let's get into the incense, the smoke cleansing. And as the flame is burning, just kind of set your intention for the reading and be focusing on the questions that you would like to have answered over the course of the reading. Focus on those questions. Think about what information you would like to know that you don't already have access to. And now that we have smoke cleansed the area, you can allow yourself to be a little bit more open, a little bit, for the benefit of the crystal scrying, so that you can get the answers you are looking for. There, now the smoke can kind of come up through the shot. I like that it gives a very mysterious kind of an aura. There we go. For scrying today, I am going to use 2 different oils. I'm going to use peppermint, and I'm also going to use rosemary. had them a little bit mixed up. I think this one is the rosemary. And now we're going to drip a little bit of wax. So continue to think about your questions, things that you would like to know, information you would like to have access to. I'm just ashing my incense. Keep thinking about the information you would like to learn today from the crystal scrying and the ceromancy and the bibliomancy that we will be performing. And we will drip. All right. It smells really good. Got the smell of the incense, of course, but then also the peppermint and rosemary oils smell really good together. Let's talk about the future, the future, the future, the future. It's time again for the general ephemera. So, the sun is in Pisces. Pisces, Pisces, Pisces. Happy birthday to all my Pisces who are celebrating a solar return this week. The moon is going to start out in Aquarius. And then on St. Patrick's Day, the moon will be in Taurus. So we'll be going Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and then into Taurus. Alright? Sunday the 14th, daylight saving time is going to begin. So you are supposed to set your clocks forward an hour, spring forward and fall back. Spring forward and fall back. Even though time is totally fake, and daylight saving time is even more fake than time is normally. So, on Wednesday the 10th, the moon is going to conjunct both Jupiter and Mercury. But Mercury and Jupiter are not conjunct. Let's see. Mercury and Jupiter would have been conjunct on Thursday, March 4th, so now they're moving back apart again. But the moon and Jupiter conjunct in Aquarius is going to be a good energy for exposing any things in your friend group or in new ideas that you're trying to put out there that might be holding you back from wealth and expansion, and likewise might be bringing hidden things to light that will be encouraging wealth and expansion in both of those areas. The moon is also good for creative energies and artistic endeavors. The moon and Mercury then being conjunct later is going to promote an environment in which you can communicate those things effectively. Most of the day on Wednesday is going to be an opportune period because of these two conjunctions. It's an entire day to finish up and release ongoing projects during the last quarter moon. In the middle of the afternoon, or early evening, depending on if you are on the East Coast or West Coast of the United States, the Sun is going to be conjunct Neptune on this day. It could be a very excellent day to get in touch with your higher power or with the divinity, things that are greater than yourself. A good day for intuition. And of course, if you are a Pisces sun sign celebrating your birthday on Wednesday the 10th, this is going to be a very good day for you, especially because you have your sun sign conjunct the native of Pisces, which is Neptune. You'll really be feeling yourself. On Thursday the 11th, the moon is going to enter Pisces. The moon in Pisces is going to square Mars in Gemini and sextile Uranus in Taurus. So this Mars in Gemini energy is going to be a little harsh for that moon in Pisces. Mars in Gemini could be fighting among siblings, but can also have to do with being very passionate and forthcoming in your communication. So it could have to do with, Mars also has to do with promotion of the self and promotion of self-interest. You could be communicating a lot about that on that day, which will make Pisces. Hopefully my neighbor won't be slamming the gate the whole time. Maybe intuitively he might pick up on that. Anyway, I apologize. As I was saying, the moon and Venus being conjunct is a very excellent time for romantic feelings, for getting in touch with those feelings with a loved one or partner, for having good intuitive communion with each other. But Venus can also have to do with money and ways of making money. So you might find yourself creatively directed where that is concerned as well. Neptune and the moon conjunct is good for communion with your higher power also. Neptune is a very distant energy, just like the void between ourselves and the divine. The intuitive nature of Pisces, that inherent psychic awareness, is a good way of bridging that gap. Now, this is also an overnight energy, bringing us into Saturday the 13th. The moon then being conjunct with the sun, of course, because it is the new moon. Your intuition will be heightened, and if you have something important to start around now, this is a great time to do it. However, that energy is going to be occurring early in the morning. So around 2:20 on the west coast and 5:20 on the east coast. So you have to wake up very early or go to bed very late the previous night to benefit from that energy in your waking life. You may receive intuitive dreams at this time, however. That's also possible. There will be a sextile between the moon in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn. Now, this is a sextile energy, but even though sextile is usually beneficial, depending on your personality, this might be kind of stressful for you, even though the energy is going to be flowing very smoothly. So, that Pluto in Capricorn, again, could be transitional things relating to a job situation or to ways in your life that you earn a steady income, career type energy. That moon in Pisces relating to emotional things, hidden things coming to light, and also creativity in the arts. And because there's a Piscean influence, again, your intuition and your psychic awareness is going to be heightened. After that, in the afternoon or evening, the moon is going to enter Aries. And later that night, but not an overnight energy in this case, is when the Venus and Neptune conjunction will occur. So again, all of these intuitive feelings, romantic feelings, emotions relating to the divine, all of those things coming together can also have to do with making money. Sunday the 14th, do not forget to set your clock ahead 1 hour. But they give you the day Sunday to get accustomed to the time change. How charitable of them. There will be sextiles between the moon in Aries and Mars in Gemini, and then the moon and Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius. The moon will also be conjunct Chiron in Aries. So starting out with that Mars in Gemini energy, the moon in Aries is going to be your emotional awareness of the self, of things that you need in your life, beginnings to creative projects, all of these things. Mars in Gemini is going to be your ability to communicate these things to others. The conjunction with Chiron is going to give you a chance for some reconciliation between the emotional states and the physical world. As far as those aspects, the Aryan aspects, are concerned, sense of self and beginnings. And then this sextile with Saturn in Aquarius. Again, we've talked about pecking order energy and the energies of people around you being related to how the established order of things is being contested. So with that moon in Aries, understanding emotionally your sense of self in the context of such a group. Monday the 15th, there will be then a sextile between the moon in Aries and Jupiter in Aquarius. So all of the carryover from the previous day with that sextile with Saturn in Aquarius, then you're going to see wealth and expansion come in as a result of those situations. And that's going to be more like in the middle of the morning. Then Mercury will enter the sign of Pisces. So Mercury in Pisces, intuitive communication, intuitive ideas, psychic communication. You could be noticing that the inner monologue of the people around you becomes a little bit louder. There's going to then be a square between the moon in Aries and Pluto in Capricorn. And that is going to be later in the evening or night, and when the moon is void, of course. But this is not an overnight energy. It's going to be at the very end of Monday. The moon in Aries squaring Pluto in Capricorn might be a little bit uncomfortable too. You're going to have this energy of the emotional sense of self squaring this change that you're undergoing in the way that you earn a steady income. And so there might be parts of your sense of self that are tied up in that, and you are going to have to grieve those to move on. Tuesday the 16th. The moon is entering Taurus. The moon in Taurus is going to sextile Mercury in Pisces. So that moon in Taurus is the emotional sense of areas that maybe you hadn't thought about before. But also, how does this relate to my ecosystem? How does this affect all the people around me? Finally, we're getting into Wednesday, which is St. Patrick's Day. And you're going to have squares between the moon in Taurus and both Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. So we talked about the moon in Aries energy. Now we have this moon in Taurus energy, which has to do with emotions related to stability, hidden things related to stability, even new creative finances, possibly. And we start out with that established energy, but we're contradicting and challenging the current status quo, and then allowing the wealth and expansion to come in later in the day. There will be 2 sextiles. One of them is going to be between Mars in Gemini and Chiron in Aries. So reconciling the aggressive communication with the need for patience. And the moon in Taurus will sextile Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is a wonderful, wonderful, intuitive, and divine energy. It is Pisces. Neptune is native to Pisces, so it is Neptune's native sign. So that moon in Taurus, where you have the emotional attachment to stability, you have like creative finances also, possibly. Those are kind of 2 ends of the spectrum, right? And then you have this great intuitive energy coming in that could help you gain more stability or better financial situations in your life. And now let's get into the crystal scrying. Hello Aries, welcome back, welcome back. Let's see what we have so far going on in your life for the week ahead, March 10th through the 17th. It looks like things might have gotten buggered up a bit since we last spoke. You were juggling 2 situations. It doesn't necessarily mean you were juggling 2 romantic situations. That could very well be the case, but it could be that you had 2 friends and either they don't get along with each other, or you felt like hanging out with the one person and hanging out with the other person separately was the way to go with this, instead of hanging out with the 2 of them together. And you were trying to juggle these 2 engagements, and for whatever reason, both friends ended up feeling like you were not interested in hanging out with them, because you were trying to accommodate everyone's schedules, and you were actually being very careful about it and very thoughtful. But for whatever reason, both of them came away feeling like you didn't care about them anymore, and that's very unfortunate, and it's not a correct appraisal of the situation on their part. So I just want to let you know that you're seen as far as that is concerned. I understand. I certainly am not judging. Everybody has their own reasons for making the decisions that they do, but I think that you really did try your hardest. There is some kind of concession or compensation here, though, and that it will come back around again. there's something like either like competing, this sounds silly, but it's like competing clicks, or there's something about the headspace that isn't quite right as far as this three-way mutual situation is concerned. So I understand why you handled things the way that you did based on that information. And I think that eventually both of them will also. And there's somebody who has kind of taken a leave of absence from your life or from your realm of influence. So this person is, not either they ghosted you or they stopped responding to messages or something like that, and you were holding out hope that this person would at some point get back in touch with you. But I think that they've moved on, and even though what they did was callous and careless, there's really no point in you wasting any more energy thinking about it. What they didn't do out of hatred. They did it out of, it wasn't done, it was like a benign malice. So like, they knew that it wasn't the right thing to do, but they were just too lazy to tie up all the loose ends regarding your mutual situation. And this, again, doesn't have to be a romantic entanglement. It could have been a friendship. It could even have been some kind of business proposal or a project, a mutual project, and you were working on it with this person. And then all of a sudden they just ghost you out of nowhere. So I wouldn't spend any more time worrying about it. If I were you, I would just let it go. Is there anything else that I need to talk to Aries about? Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Sun, moon, and rising. Remember, Aries, for those of you who have Aries moon, specifically, that the moon will be in Aries for part of the week. So go back and listen to the general ephemera if you would like to know more about that. Let's move on to the biblio. Mancy. person as far as your time was concerned, and as far as what was going to be expected of you. And so for this person to then turn around and kind of monopolize your time like this is just a total disregard of those boundaries that you have set. And so you're going to need to find a way to make this person understand why you set those boundaries to begin with, because they are important boundaries to have. He's just kind of clueless. I don't think he even understands that he's like doing this. But especially if you have a work agreement with a person and they are your boss or supervisor at a job, then there will have been hopefully some kind of paper trail kept as far as when you set these boundaries and what boundaries you had set. So that you will be able to go back to that and say, hey, look, you are kind of overextending in this area. Can we please revisit what we had established before? And that there will be ways to deal with this without having to completely reestablish those boundaries. As long as you just stick to the boundaries, you won't have to reestablish them, right? But there's somebody else too. Somebody else who matters a lot more to you, like that you would prefer to spend time with, and I feel like they also are expecting more of your time, and you are much more willing to give that time to them than you are to give it to this other person. So yeah, you're just going to have to be reestablishing those boundaries, and you may decide to revisit boundaries with your loved one as well, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. What else do I need to tell Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising about the week ahead? Is it about fortune and fame? Fortune and fame can be yours, but there's something that is blocking your path. It is an obstacle, and it has to do with an outdated idea that got established in your head a long, long time ago, regarding the quality of your effort being proportional to the quality of your performance. Like, if I put a lot of work into something, then it's going to be great. And the reason that this is holding you back now is that you are working too hard when it comes to certain areas of your life, that instead of getting the representation that you need for whatever project this is, that you just kind of continue to think, well, if I keep working hard enough, people will see how hard I work, people will know how hard I work, and they will recognize that as the value of my work. And that isn't necessary. And when people, it's like the poverty mentality too. The people who have the wherewithal to help you out with this see you. Just organically be in your space, which you are very capable of doing. And your mere existence is enough to attract them. You just have to worry now about not scaring them away or causing them to change their trajectory towards you. Let's start looking at the bibliomancy. So just direct your question right here into the book, right here into the book. Just direct your question right here into the book. Got it. Is that it? A good-humored mate will be a treasure, which thy eyes will delight to look upon. So, some of you could be already very blessed in that area. Oh, I'll give you another one too. A clean corner is not the worse for being twice searched. Thank you for joining me, Taurus. I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Welcome back, Gemini. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Gemini, hello. So let's find out what is in store for you for the week ahead. Somebody's looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if they're doing a special activity in your town or location, like some kind of open air bar crawl type thing where you are able to walk down the main street and all the bars are just going to be open on St. Patrick's Day and you'll be able to stop by and get drinks. And they could be closing off that road for that, I don't know. But I think that if that is going on in your particular location, it's something that you might be looking forward to quite a bit, an opportunity to get out of the house and do an activity that you enjoy, which is drinking, I guess. I don't judge, I really don't. I hope that you have a good time. What else does Gemini need to know, not just for the week ahead, but for the upcoming era, the upcoming Gemini era? Do not forget that Mars is now in your sign, Gemini. You could be feeling more aggressive, so just be very careful when you're out on St. Patrick's Day. If that's something that you're planning to do, you could be feeling very aggressive. There were other circumstances before, but circumstances are different now. I think you might be holding on to an outmoded is this relating to? It could be the way that you view your romantic partner. Not that you don't love the person, or that you don't necessarily have to be abusive or anything like that, but there is a self-mindedness involved where you are not as much connecting with this romantic partner as you are kind of going through the motions of being in love. It doesn't mean that you're not in love with this person. Let me reiterate that. What it does mean is that your attachment is to the rituals of the relationship and not to the person themselves. And I think I had talked about this in your reading before, possibly when it was related to Valentine's Day. I kind of get a memory of that, but I could be mistaken. I do know that there was one sign in particular that I said, you know, you're going to try to buy something for your partner for Valentine's Day, and it's going to be something that they did not want, or you're just buying this thing for this person because it's Valentine's Day. And I feel like this is something that is most specifically illustrated by that, but that you might have worked on it since then and made progress in that area. Now the challenge is going to be the genuine connection, the way that you feel when that person is not around, okay? There is a need to bridge this gap between your interactions with this person and the way you feel when they are not around. And that if you are more able to bridge that gap, it will improve your relationship with this person. Now, I don't think that this is something that would necessarily end your relationship if allowed to continue. But there's a difference between a relationship where you have been married to this person for 25 years and you're still just as in love with them as the day that you met, and a relationship where you are very happy to be married to this person, but you kind of live your own separate lives and there has been a stagnance that has settled into the relationship. This will not necessarily cause your relationship to fall apart, but it will cause it to stagnate, which very well could cause it to fall apart, but the one does not predicate the other. So, this might be something where you could sit down and write love letters to this person. Because you might end up writing this person a love letter, and they will come back to you clutching it like this in their hand, and they're gonna say, "You don't know me at all." And then you will have to sit down and have a serious discussion about what it actually means for the two of you to be together. Now, this might be the last time we end up discussing this, Gemini, because I do think that you are trying to make strides in a more beneficial and productive direction with your partner. And this doesn't have to be a romantic partner, but it's really in these romantic types of relationships that these things are issues. Like if you have a projected image of your parents, for example, it's very often that the most vivid understandings that each other are projections. And I fully admit this in my own case as well. But only in romantic relationships is it a problem, because the love between parents and children is supposed to be unconditional, and part of that lack of condition is I'm going to project on you and you're going to project on me, and we're still going to love each other in spite of it. But in romantic relationships, it really just leads to stagnation, misunderstanding, and relationship issues like that. Is there anything else that I need to talk to Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising about for the week ahead or the time in the future? Let's move on to the bibliomancy. Gemini, so direct your question right into the cover of this book. Alright, I think I almost have it. Got it. Which one is it? Which one is it? Is it over here? Thou shalt have a son whose health in his childhood will require much care. Let not old women who pretend to medical knowledge tamper with the patient's constitution. So if you are planning on having children, or you do have a child, just be careful that you don't fall into a routine of quackery with somebody who probably means the best, but ends up doing the worst. This could also pertain to people meddling in projects, your projects or your children also, whether it is an artistic endeavor or anything else. Make sure that you are free from interference. Thank you for joining me this week, Gemini. I hope that you enjoyed our time together, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Cancer. Hello. Welcome back. There's something going on with you right now that's about 3 years in the making. And there could be other people involved in this process, but for a larger extent, this is something this is something that you have had to go alone. It's like this internal process that you've been living through. things up and then dismantling them and reorganizing. But it seems like you're almost finished with this process, and it will not take much more effort for it to be completed. It has to do with your internal processes, like how you perceive and construct your images of the world around you. But that there are things about this that you have kept very personal and very secret. So thank you for allowing me to see part of this today. I think there's somebody who doesn't really want to help. They want you to be able to take care of this yourself. And I think it's reasonable to expect that at this point. But it's going to take much more effort for you to do it alone than it would take to have help. But again, because it has to do with your internal processes, it's very difficult to express to other people how you might need their help. There's a recognition of sorts that you've been kind of going through this specialized agenda. And so there is a certain forgiveness that has been worked into the process. But there's also like expectation attached to that. Like, I will give you this much and no further, kind of an idea. And it's nothing personal. It's not a personal attack or affront. It's just merely how these things have been allowed to form and continue. But there has to be active work made on your part. There has to be an active, not promotion. There has to be an active promotion of the self in this situation so that others maintain good faith. If you're always just saying, I'm out of shape, and you never work on exercising, it doesn't matter that you have worked on all these other things. If you then harp on these things that have not come to pass, there's some sort of sacrifice that still has to be made for your own well-being. It could be like eating better, or not smoking, or exercising, or something like that. Something that is still missing from the process. But you're almost there. The last thing it's going to take is there's like one more pile This could represent like your physical well-being, could represent a psychological process that you've outgrown. There's one last pile of refuse tucked away in a corner that you're going to have to sort through. And then it will be done and your life will be complete. So let's move on to the bibliomancy. Just direct your question right here and to the cover of the book. Yeah, I think I have it. This union will be productive of real happiness. And then also on the other page it says this marriage will add to your welfare and happiness. So to me, that's not just a union or a marriage between you and another person, but the union of all of these revamped and refurbished parts of the self, Cancer. That in your reintegration of all of these things into yourself, you will find real fortune and happiness. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Leo. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Welcome back. Let's see what the crystal has in store for you today. Oh, a sense of casual foreboding, I see. It's like you've been feeling that there's something not quite right. And the temptation is to feel like something bad is about to happen, but I have to tell you that sometimes you get a case of serious foreboding when something very intense is about to happen, good or bad. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you are on the brink of a catastrophic failure. It could just mean that something life-changing is about to happen. What can I tell you, Leo, about this cataclysmic event? There's going to be a lot of reorganizing. One thing you might have noticed in the recent past is that reality is very flexible. This can be very disconcerting. I know I find it very disconcerting because you never know what is actually true or what isn't. They talk about something called the Mandela effect, and of course the basis for that is people thinking that Nelson Mandela died in prison, when in fact he did not. And I've also seen it called people putting a pseudoscientific description onto being stupid and wrong, which in most cases is a very accurate description for a lot of these so-called phenomena. Oh, I could swear it was called that. Well, it never was. It's unfortunate though, because there are subtle cases in everyone's lives where these changes take place. And there's no regard given for what the past used to represent. So what I'm referring to is not that facts actually change, but that your perceptions of events in your own history take on new perspectives, and when you see things from a slightly different angle, you start to realize how little you really have known about the world around you. So there's a place called Inverness in Scotland, which is where Loch Ness is located. And of course, people have their own theories about the origins of the supposed alleged plesiosaur, which may or may not be occupying that very cold lake. But it could very well be a projection of the past, a kind of wormhole, if you will. Now, what does this have to do with the cataclysmic events in your own life, Leo? I think it's very possible that you could be knocking on the door of your very own wormhole as we speak, and you wouldn't even know it. Time out of mind. The idea that in the very bowels of prehistory, many events came to pass of which we no longer have a record because no one was there to record it, for one, and for two, there exists no fossil record either, for whatever reason, or the fossil record has not been discovered. There will be some possible hidden substance brought to your attention that there could have been something a long, long time ago that you planted and then left the forest and forgot. Let's ask the book a question. So direct your question right here into the cover of the book. Alright, I think I've got it. waiting. There is purpose in his step. He moved toward the deer, and he takes a step back into the forest, into the seclusion of the tree line, and you know that you can follow, but only at your own peril. This deer does not seem dangerous, though, even though its behavior is surreptitious at best. He seems to have a true purpose and is not acting to your detriment. You continue to follow the deer. He leads you to a small cabin where smoke is curling out of the chimney, and inside is a great quantity of gold and jewels. He tells you that this is all for you, but there's something that you must do for him also. For in order to restore his human form, he must be slain by human hand. Only in death will he be able to take his former shape. Do you say to him, why would you want that? Why would you rather be dead than be a deer? And he says, no, you don't understand. I am in great danger every day, all the time, on account of this form. I need someone to keep me safe. Someday I will die. And when I die, I will regain my human form. But until then, I wish to live this life that I have grown accustomed to. And as a reward for your troubles, all of this can be yours. And you have to ask yourself, Virgo, is it enough? You have to ask yourself, this austere existence, alone, in the woods, save for this talking deer, will that be enough for me? Will that be enough for me to build a future? There is a certain amount of sacrifice required to maintain that kind of an existence. But at that point, it's not really about the treasure, is it? Because how often do you come across an enchanted deer? We all find the miraculous in the world around us, but whether you notice it or not is entirely up to you. And your human form might be a little more flexible than you would like to believe. Alright, Virgo. Direct any questions that you have into the cover here of this book. processes for what they are. There are actually quite a few things going on around you that could be shaping your moods in ways that you didn't realize, and that you might need to replace certain parts of your diet to supplement the fact that there is chaos around you. It seems like eating and this turmoil are kind of linked for you. That could be somebody in particular, but there is also a lot of ways that stress affects the body that we don't have very much control over. Only to remove oneself from the source of that stress. You've been given a slightly bigger hand than a lot of the people around you. This could mean that at work you have more responsibility than the people around you. It could be that in your home life, you're the one who makes peace, or you are the one who strives to resolve conflict. And in those two, it's important to make the distinction. There's an important distinction between those two things. Making peace and resolving conflict are not the same thing. Really getting a sense of sacrifice for a few of the signs this week. You being no different, Libra. It is claimed that different ancient cultures would sacrifice the young or virgins in favor of a good harvest or a rainfall or a successful hunting trip. But what those historical facts are not able to illustrate is the record, the full record of that encounter. Alright, Libra. Let's look into the book. See what else is in store for you. I guess just to close up my last thought, we know why we think those people in the past were sacrificed, but we don't know for certain. There's no way of knowing exactly why those human sacrifices were carried out. Alright, I think I've got it. others, supposedly towards salvation. But I think perhaps you cannot guarantee that for each and every person, and you would rather not try. Thank you for joining me, Libra. I hope that wasn't overly cryptic. I also hope that you have a great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Scorpio. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. Hopefully I won't have any more horrible interruptions during the rest of these readings. Scorpions and spiders are very similar in that they are both arachnids, but very different in the way that they hunt and devour their prey. Spiders are quite notorious as hunters, actually, and prolific multipliers as well. Their little egg sacs get tossed away on the breeze, spreading them far and wide. There may be a journey like that ahead for you in the future. That little bits of yourself will be carried away on the wind. That you may reach distant shores and set down roots there. It's possible that you will find collaborators in different places, because remember, we talk about one's offspring not only as children, human children, but we also speak of one's offspring as being the projects and creations that they put out in the world. In the weeks ahead for you, Scorpio, I see romantic opportunities. I don't just mean romantic in that it is you and a partner enjoying time together, but romantic like walking along the riverbank, romantic like the way that the waves lap at the shore, and romantic like long-distance correspondence. Some of you might even be prolific authors. Maybe you even write fan fiction. There's not enough respect given to fan fiction authors in this world. And then conversely, there's too much respect given to fan fiction authors in this world. It's a double-edged sword. Just like the hurdles you will be jumping this week, they will make you lift yourself higher, but they will also seek to trap and ensnare you. 7 times you have been the victim of such schemes. Like what? Like self-sacrifice at the expense of your future visions and dreams. That it is not always required of you to be so disadvantaged. And in fact, it is often better that you not cut your yourself off at the knees in an attempt to eat your calves. That you might grow so hungry as to be enticed by your very own flesh. It is not enough to send your enemies away if the enemy is within yourself. And I think that might be the case for you sometimes, Scorpio. And thus, this week, do not engulf and destroy your own progeny, but send them far away from your grasp. Alright, now tell me a secret. Tell me a secret. Envy not thy industrious neighbor, but steadily follow his example. I don't really care for that saying because the implication in both cases, whether you are envying your neighbor or trying to keep up with him, is that you are comparing yourself to others, which is a fruitless exercise that I myself fall victim to more often than I'd like to admit. So let my advice be that instead. It is perfectly acceptable to go in search of collaborators, as long as you are not comparing yourself to other people in a way that is unhealthy for you. Thank you for joining me today, Scorpio. I hope that you have a great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Welcome back, Sagittarius. Welcome back. And thank you for joining me today. I hope that you have had the opportunity to eat lots of cupcakes, and sweets, if that is something that you enjoy. For those of you who do not care for sweets or who cannot indulge in such, I hope that there have been cases where you can safely indulge your preferred habits. A sanctuary of delights. A dimly lit room, upholstered in velvet. A 7-hour-long symphony playing somewhere in the distance for no one in particular. He offers you favor in exchange for nothing, and you accept gladly. There is no return policy. You may exchange it for one of equal or lesser value. This set of circumstances is very similar to something that you've experienced before. But it is important not to fall into the fallacies of the past, because you are not that person any longer. That person does not exist anymore, and it's possible that they never did. The circumstance might seem similar, deceptively so, but it is you who are encountering it and not your past self, and therefore the differences are going to be the key to your success or failure. Although your success seems much more likely with all of the growth that you have experienced. And there's an idea of witchcraft here, whether that is Wicca or some other form of magic that you might be taking part in as a manifestation practice to bring you somewhere closer to the future you desire. And I see that reality taking shape, but it is still too soft. It is like a marshmallow over an open flame. And the trouble is your lack of vision in this particular regard. I'm not saying that you lack vision, but in this particular case, it has not solidified enough yet to take you where you want to go. So your task for the next week may be to refine and hone what you desire. Sagittarius. Let me know your question directed right here into the cover of this book. Alright, I think I've got it. A secret enemy will endeavor to undermine your happiness. Think about who that secret enemy could be. It could even be an aspect of yourself with whom you have not properly dealt. A secret enemy stealing your happiness could be an aspect of yourself not given proper credit where credit is due. Thank you for joining me, Sagittarius. I hope that you enjoyed your reading this week. I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Capricorn. Welcome back, welcome back. I suspect that somebody is waiting for a baby to come. And I don't think that this is necessarily an infant child of your own bearing. I feel like it could be a cat, or a dog, or possibly a niece or nephew as well. And I see preparations being made. There's like a little bed for the creature, and possibly some tiny clothes, or a leash, or a water bowl, or something like that. And these things are being accumulated in one corner of your living quarters in anticipation of this beautiful, shiny, new feel this overflowing of love. Almost to a preternatural extent, that this is not the kind of love that you would feel for a shiny new object, but rather the love that you feel for, it's an unconditional feeling, an unconditional type of glowing within. I don't think you are sharing this feeling with many people. I think that you have chosen to keep it to yourself for the most part, that you are so excited about this. You might have told a few people, but that it is not something you are gushing about. Your exterior composure does not betray your true feelings. And he or she already has a name picked out. Even though you might be the auntie or uncle, you have decided to call the child by a different title, and it could be a cute little nickname, or it could be, it's a method of support, so it could even be an appellation that is a contributor to the child's well-being. There is a lot of power in a name, and even in pet names. It is a blessing every time you say it. It is a blessing every time you recite this name to this being. And it has taught you how to open your heart to accept the love back again, not just to send love out, but to reciprocate and receive that love back again. Is there anything else that I need to tell Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising for the week ahead? No, let's move on to the bibliomancy. Send to me your question right here, right here. Send to me your question, question. Unlooked for fortune and happiness await thee. So if this is not a child coming into your life, something is about to come to you that is going to make you so unbelievably happy. Something you could not have conceived of, Capricorn. Best of luck to you over this next week, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is the 4th episode of the series of Aquarius. I feel like if there was a pilot type situation that happened in your life some time ago that now we are headed into the part of your life where you are entering season 4 of something. Season 4 Olympics. Season 4 Aquarius goes to the Olympics, and there is like a high diving event, and it's like that scene from Back to School where Rodney Dangerfield does the elaborate high dive off of the 3 diving boards. Something like that. Aquarius, you will be pulling off a similar feat this week because you are older and more seasoned now. More seasoned. This expertise gives you an advantage over some of the other people that are investigating your life. It's almost like you're a step ahead of someone who is pursuing you, but it's not just that they are pursuing you, it's that they see what you have and they want to emulate it, and therefore they have begun to study you in an effort to learn these things about your life. You didn't give them permission to do this, so it's going to be up to you as to whether you allow them to continue their research or not. But I feel like it's something that up until this point has been benign. It's just now in season 4, the plot starts to thicken. Does this person mean ill? No, it's more likely that they are just so much more single-mindedly focused on their own successes that they are not conceiving of your place in the world as something they need to interfere with. So it's not as though this person is trying to drag you down either. They just merely want something similar to what you have accomplished. Excuse me. I think you might find it interesting to then start watching The Watcher and to take away from their presence a bit of the hunger, a bit of the willingness for sacrifice, maybe a bit of the attention that they pay to details you might have overlooked. There being a certain fever in their countenance. You have not observed other places this person could be a fire sign, possibly Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. But deep within their being is this overwhelming daring. It's a daring, it's not a sadness, and it's not a hunger. But are some elements of both of those things possible there. What else do I need to tell Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising about this week ahead? Put an extra layer of clothing on before you leave the house, whether that means throwing a sweatshirt on over a t-shirt or a long sleeve. If you already have a heavy coat on, layer of clothing with you when you leave the house. You might find that you need it later. Alright, Aquarius. Send me your question. Send it to me right here. Right here. Right here. Send it to me. Right here. Okay. Enter not into a state of which thou hast not well considered the end. Basically, don't back yourself into a corner, Aquarius. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you have a great week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Hello, Pisces. Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. So, what is in store for you for the week ahead? Good fortune and cheer. But I sense a bit of sadness too. I think there could be somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, and you miss that person quite a bit, quite a bit, quite a bit. And that even in times when you are happy and having a joyful celebration, that your thoughts are of this person and that you miss them. It's important to be able to enjoy oneself, certainly, and to have happiness in one's life. And it's okay to miss someone when they're not around. It's okay to keep these things somewhat separate too, and to empty the emptiness out of ourselves when we are having a good time, not to feel regret, but instead to compartmentalize. Now I realize that there's a lot going on in Pisces right now. Venus is in Pisces, and some other planets as well. And so it's important to be able to sort out all of these feelings. Some of you might be having a birthday. Oh yeah, so some of you are having a birthday this week, which of course is going to make you miss people sometimes. They might be contacting you to wish you a happy birthday, but they might still be very far away. And that's alright. For now, it's been a very tough time for all of us to be separated from our loved ones. And I feel like soon you will be able to see them again. There might be some certain regrets for some of you that this birthday may not live up to your expectations, but that is false. I think this birthday is going to be a wonderful and rewarding time for all of you, without exception. Without exception. Without exception. Let the warmth override any chill that creeps in around the edges of your heart. And let not the sacrifice of others go unrecognized as they help you to enjoy your solar return. Pisces, what other misfortunes could you possibly be dwelling upon on this fine and beautiful day? Yes, I'm very sorry that that happened, but that is in the past now. Even if it was 2 weeks ago, it's still in the past. It's time for you to enjoy. It's time for you to enjoy this heyday of Pisces experience. For better or for worse, this could be a very emotional time for you, but not, I think, without its perks. So, I hope that you are still able to enjoy everything that this week has to offer. Let's look now into the book. And maybe since it's your birthday, I'll let you have 2 wishes. The first: the captive will suffer no bodily affliction. And so these two go together. Desire not to attain immortality by the vices of reckless ambition, and brood not over thy misfortunes, but exert thyself the future. So, thank you for joining me, Pisces. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope you have a great week. If you're having a birthday, happy birthday. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. So here we have our ceromancy, the wax. This looks like one of those little, it's like a ferret that's attached to a ball, and the ball rolls around and around, and drags the ferret with it, and it makes it look like it's playing. There could be some kind of frenetic and random chaotic energy surrounding you. Here we have somebody sitting with their back to us, and it could be a collection plate at their feet. Someone refusing help, possibly. There is an overwhelming feeling of yes, but that you are turning your back to things that would help you. Here we have a stuffed animal flying away on a balloon, the balloon carrying the stuffed animal off of the ground. We have some generalized clusters too, like groups of 3 little splotches of wax. There might be, so kind of like a 3 of cups energy. But there might be situations in which you are with a close-knit group of friends. I'm seeing lots of little close-knit groups of friends congregating together separately. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, possibly subscribe. Remember, we have 2 members-only live streams every month and 1 general public live stream as well.